Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to part 2 of our series of videos focusing on crimes involving Craigslist. If you haven't seen part 1, be sure to check that out first. We'll leave a link in the description below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this. It really helps us to continue building the channel. With that out of the way, here is part 2 of 3 chilling crimes that were committed using Craigslist.
In the fall of 2007, it seemed that 24-year-old Katherine Ann Olson had her whole life in front of her. She had recently graduated from St. Olaf College in Northfield, Minnesota with a degree in theater and Latin studies and was looking forward to her next adventure. Soon she would be traveling to Madrid, where she was entering a graduate theater program and also planned to get her master's degree in Spanish. Despite her relatively young age, Katherine was no stranger to big moves like this, particularly ones that would take her far away from home. She had already traveled and worked in many places around the world, including Egypt and Turkey, and had spent time working as a juggler for a circus in Argentina. A few of these jobs she had found online. It might have been intimidating for some people, but Katherine had always had great experiences. By comparison, the jobs that Katherine was looking for that fall before going away were relatively mundane. As she surfed through postings on Craigslist, she eventually came across a nanny job posted by a woman named Amy who was looking for someone to take care of her 5-year-old daughter. After emailing back and forth with Amy, Katherine decided to take the job, agreeing to babysit on October 25th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the woman's home in Savage, about a 30-minute drive from her own home in Cottage Grove. The decision would turn out to have tragic consequences. On October 26th, the Savage Police Department received a call about a discarded purse that had been seen at Warren Butler Park, located near the city's northwestern edge. An officer was sent to investigate the item and upon arriving, found the purse sitting in a trash can. Inside the purse was Katherine Olson's driver's license. The findings only got more disturbing from there. The purse had been placed on top of a sealed garbage bag that was also sitting near the mouth of the trash can. Inside were bloody towels, along with Katherine's cell phone. While a search for Katherine began, police interviewed her roommate, Matt Thiede. Thiede told investigators that he had last seen Katherine the previous morning when she told him she was heading to a babysitting job in Savage that she had found on Craigslist. Thiede remembered that Katherine had said that the woman she corresponded with, Amy, had seemed a little strange, but that she decided to go anyway. A search for Olson's emails confirmed the string of messages between her and the unknown woman. At approximately 10 p.m. that night, investigators made the discovery that everyone was dreading. Katherine's car was spotted by a patrol helicopter in Kramer Nature Preserve in Burnsville, just a few miles east of where her purse and cell phone had been found. When police investigated the vehicle, they found Katherine's lifeless body in the trunk. She had been shot in the back, and her ankles had been bound with red twine. The crime sent shockwaves through the local community, but quickly gained national media attention once police announced that Katherine's killer had used Craigslist to orchestrate her murder. For many people across the country, the massive online classifieds ad site had only recently become a household name, and now its seemingly obvious dangers had been exposed. In the wake of the killing, a flurry of stories about online safety appeared, featuring anecdotes from people who said they were reconsidering using Craigslist after hearing about Katherine's murder. The obvious uneasiness extended to the site itself, where on more than one occasion users made posts for the sole purpose of warning others about the dangers associated with agreeing to meet strangers. In one such post titled "Warning for those who don't watch the news," a concerned user wrote, quote, "Someone who answered a Craigslist ad for a nanny job ended up dead. Be careful out there." Thankfully, due to the overwhelming amount of evidence in the case, it didn't take long for authorities to track down Katherine's killer. Within just days of the murder, police announced that they had arrested a 19-year-old by the name of Michael John Anderson. It was quickly determined that the woman Katherine had corresponded with via email did not exist, and that the account instead belonged to Anderson. A cell phone call that Katherine had made shortly before 9 a.m. on October 25th had also been made to a number owned by Anderson. In addition to this electronic record, several other pieces of physical and circumstantial evidence were found linking Anderson to the murder. His fingerprints were found on the drawstring of the garbage bag containing Katherine's cell phone, as well as the phone itself, and the blood from the towels was found to be a match to Katherine. Anderson's last name was also found written in marker on one of the towels. Anderson's home in Savage, where he lived with his parents, was located just a few blocks away from where Katherine's purse had been found. A search of the home revealed even more incriminating evidence. The gun that was believed to be the murder weapon was found in Anderson's parents' room, a used bullet shell casing was found under Anderson's pillow, and evidence of Katherine's poorly cleaned up blood was found on several areas of the stairs. In addition to the fatal gunshot wound to her back, an autopsy on Katherine's body revealed injuries to her knees, nose, and forehead. Based on the evidence, investigators created a theory of the case. They suggested that when Katherine had arrived for the babysitting job, Anderson had somehow convinced her to accompany him to the second floor of the house, where he had proceeded to shoot her. She had then fallen forward, causing her other injuries, and Anderson had proceeded to bind her ankles and drag her down the stairs, leaving behind the blood evidence. He had then disposed of her car and belongings within walking distance of his home. Anderson was arrested at Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, where he worked refueling jets. During his questioning with police, he bizarrely admitted to using Craigslist to create the posting and to being present when Katherine was murdered, but claimed that it was a friend who had actually committed the murder. Anderson stated that the friend thought it would be fun to kill Olson. This weak explanation was disregarded by police, who had found no evidence to suggest that Anderson had worked with an accomplice. Further investigation of his computer records revealed that he had been a heavy user of Craigslist in the past year. He had created almost 70 postings on the site since the previous November, many of which included requests for female models, actresses, nude photos and sexual encounters, as well as babysitters. Anderson was subsequently charged with first-degree premeditated murder, second-degree intentional murder, and second-degree manslaughter for the killing of Katherine Olson. At first, Anderson pleaded not guilty by reason of mental illness, claiming that he had been diagnosed as having Asperger's syndrome following the crime. The finding was challenged by a forensic psychologist and psychiatrist after a mental examination was ordered by a district court. Both professionals stated that they did not believe that Anderson had Asperger's, nor did they believe that he was mentally ill or mentally deficient. Eventually, Anderson withdrew his mental illness plea, changing it to not guilty. However, his defense team still tried to convince a judge to permit the jury to hear expert testimony at trial about how Anderson's Asperger's had supposedly been a contributing factor in the murder. This was denied. At trial, prosecutors introduced further disturbing evidence suggesting that Anderson knew the impact of his actions. Testimony from inmates who had spoken with Anderson claimed that he had told them he committed the murder because he wanted to know what it felt like, and that he did not plead insanity because then he would, quote, have to pretend he was sorry. He also reportedly bragged about being labeled the Craigslist killer by the media, telling one inmate who had been a professional fighter that the nickname would make him more famous. In the spring of 2009, Anderson was convicted on all 3 charges and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Katherine's father stated that the family was thankful for the verdict, but was sad that they had to be there at all. Heartbreakingly, he also said that he and his wife considered it to be the last act of parenting for their daughter. Anderson subsequently tried to appeal the verdict, making a variety of arguments about how his statements to police should have been suppressed at trial, and that he should have been allowed to present evidence relating to the effects of his Asperger's syndrome. The verdict and sentence were upheld by the Supreme Court of Minnesota in 2014, and Anderson remains incarcerated.
Do you know of any other cases like this that you think we should check out? Tell us about them in the comments section below. As always, if you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.